Hey, my name is Shaul Hagen. I'm a senior UX designer on MLB The Show at Sony Interactive Entertainment. And I've been working at PlayStation for about 8 months now. I am new to the game, which has been awesome. I transitioned out of a web and app development career that was about 15 years long. And I kind of came to a point where I was just not want to do websites anymore and want to do something else. And I've always been a big game fan. So, anyways, I thought I'd kind of just like run through some of my history, which may or may not help you in your journey, but I thought it could be helpful. So, none of this is for sure stuff or a way to get into games or anything like that. Everybody's path is different. But I think it's important to know that anybody can do it. It's just going to take work and time and effort, and everybody's path is a little different. So I thought it would just be funny to go through my kind of my LinkedIn stuff. So I was a musician for a long time, almost 7 years. I was a full-time musician. I traveled around, played shows, did the whole like travel in a van and pull a trailer and played all over the United States. We were signed, we were independent, like we did that. I was a drummer, played for a lot of years. During that time, I was the guy with Photoshop, and so I would make our album art, our T-shirts, our websites, and all that. And I learned a lot about web design while I was doing that. I learned on Macromedia Dreamweaver before Adobe bought Macromedia way back in the day, and like Macromedia Flash and all that. And so that's kind of where I cut my teeth with the whole web design thing. Once the band kind of came to a close, I was looking for a tech position, and I started here at Qualview. It's a online video focus group kind of research company, and they needed a web designer and UI designer for their platform. And so I did that for almost 3.5 years, and it was awesome experience. I learned a ton. In there, learned a lot about HTML, CSS, WordPress, like all that stuff, all the front end graphic design, marketing websites. And initially I started on the UI, and then eventually we grew up and had enough people that someone else just took that over, which was awesome because I was strapped. After that, I moved over to a lead position at another kind of web agency. We just made WordPress sites for various different companies of sizes and just products and all that stuff all around the kind of the Denver area. And then two guys that I met there, we ended up creating our own thing. We founded this company here, Never Settle. I was the design director and founder and partner of this, and I did all things design, UX, UI, like all that stuff. And again, it was apps and websites and client work, and I learned a lot more about operations and how to run a company. We had about 15 people that worked all over the world for us, and we just built all sorts of different websites, marketing sites, e-commerce, apps. We even did some games in there, which was really cool. We had a client that wanted some kids games, and we built some of that out. We also, out randomly, owned a soap company, anti-mosquito soap company, that Never Settle actually owned this. So we did that a few years. And so with all this combined, I have about 15 years of front end web and UX and UI and app design experience. And I've been doing it for quite a long time and learned a lot about user experience and just what works and what doesn't. And what was cool is that translated into me leaving my design director position here. And I took a year off, a year and a half off actually, and learned as much as I could about games and about game design and UI and UX and level design and all those things. And I tried to just figure out what I wanted to do. I took a game design course at CG Spectrum, and it's like an online deal. I did it I did like the 3-month game design course. If you're looking for a cool online course, like I do recommend it. It's pretty cool. You can do one-on-one classes. Um, you can do like with a class group, and your class is like all of 4 people, and it's all online. And you do videos, and then you meet with a mentor like on a weekly basis. This is really cool. But I walked away from this with a playable game in hand, and not everybody walked away with a playable game. It was just kind of like you kind of had a choice on what you wanted to make, and some people they bit off more than they can chew, and some people didn't. And so I was fortunate enough to walk away with a completed game. It doesn't look special or it isn't, crazy or anything like that, but it's a really simple game that I learned how Unreal works and Unreal blueprints and was able to make that game. And you can actually check it out here if you want. You could actually play it if you want. It's this 19 rooms. Um, it's pretty cool. And so like I was pretty proud of that. And you can check out some of the levels that I did. You can download it if you have a PC. You can actually play it. But it is really simple. Taught me the ins and outs of Unreal and working with blueprints and creating mechanics and making a game from A to Z. And so that was like really fun and really cool. Here's like how I build my levels. You can watch a time lapse of me building a level in Unreal. Here's all the levels from the top. And anyways, that was like a great experience that I went through. But let me back up for a sec. I was kind of getting to the point here with producing websites and apps, and I just simply didn't want to do it anymore. I wasn't being fulfilled. I wasn't having a good time. I didn't feel like I was changing anybody's lives or anything. And some of the products that we were building websites, I didn't believe in. And so I wanted to do something that I know impacts people, and games have always impacted me. So kind of how I started, honestly, was I I was kind of feeling a little bit depressed, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to start looking at game stuff and just putting some create time in, because that's where I was finding the most joy in work. When I was actually able to design and create things, I was having the best days. And so I decided to I bought the game Dreams for PS4, and I went through all the tutorials and was just learning that and just having a great time creating and learning how it worked. I actually never finished a game in Dreams, but I love that platform. It's really neat, and it gave me a chance to create. And what I was doing, I was waking up at 5 a.m. and creating in Dreams for an hour and a half for doing the tutorials and learning the system, and just had a great time and loved it. Started researching. I was like, man, is there anything like Dreams on PC that I can make? Because I really like how it works. And I was kicked over to this thing called Core, and it's kind of like Roblox a little bit, but it's built on top of Unreal, and you can like build games, and you can actually make money in it. And it looks like they've added NFTs and all this other crazy crap. But it's really neat. It's a whole platform. You build in it, you play in it, you share in it, like all that. But you're kind of constrained to there. They use it's kind of built on Unreal, so it has a lot of similarities, which is great. You use the scripting language Lua, but you do have to code it unless they've made improvements on that. So um, they do monthly game jams, and so I was like, man, I want to try one of these game jams, and I did that, and you can check that one out here. It's called Must Have Air, and I actually got a runner-up prize for this. I won 650 bucks. I made this game, learned how to use the system in like 5 weeks. I had a month to do the game, and I submitted it, and you can kind of see what's going on with it and how it's laid out. It's a simple game. Again, it's one level, simple concept, but it's a prototype and it's playable. It's a multiplayer game, and it was so cool to see 16 people in my game, just all playing it, or maybe it was 8 back then. I don't remember, but you can play it on Core. It is just really cool. Um, and that kind of put a fire under me, like, hey, I can do this. And this is I did this after I left my company. It was like one of the first things I did while I was learning, and it was a great place to start. Lots of helpful people online there at the forums and all that. So I highly recommend it. You can't bring in your own models, and you have to use like kit bashing and all the pre-existing assets and stuff, but it's just really neat. So highly recommend. Um, Great place to start potentially if you're looking to make if you're looking to make games. After that, I dove into the course at CG Spectrum, like I already talked about, made 19 rooms. I started just working on other things. I was really focused on level design at the time because lots of people say that's a great path like into game design and into games. And so I was doing a lot of that. So I did a lot of like Far Cry levels, but it wasn't just make a level and that's it. It's like, why was I making the level? And I had like I wanted to focus on verticality and traversal, and I limited loadouts to make things fast. And my goals, like I kind of mentioned my goals here, and that's one thing. I'll get into this in later episodes or whatever, but there's a certain way you want to show people how you think, and I don't think I do a great job always on my portfolio of showing people like how I think and what I was doing and all that. But if you can do that well, it's going to help you a lot. So anyways, I break down like why I made the levels the way I did. I had this level, I had like another one, but this is the one that like worked really well. And I just talk about what I was thinking when I was building this level, because you're constrained to what the level editor will give you, and so you can't really do a lot with the mechanics, but you can do certain things. Like I limited the loadout, and I made it so there was, I think I changed the fall damage, ammo scarcity, things like that. So think about every angle, even if it's a pre-existing system, right? And that's a great user experience for some. I did that kind of stuff. Let's see what else is on the portfolio that's kind of part of the history. This is a bunch of like presentations that I would give to my employees at my previous job, and those actually really helped me. And like I had hiring manage mention these two things in particular, and that shows like my leadership stuff. Not everybody's going to have that experience or have given a talk or given a presentation or whatever, but if you have something like that, consider putting it on there. The last thing I really kind of dove into, especially with UI UX, was this Unreal UMG, Unreal Motion Graphics. I don't know why they call it that. It's all for their UI and stuff. But I found I was like, man, I'm just gonna like remake this for fun. It was more of like a practice thing, but it ended up being one of the things that helped me land my position now. And so there was like I was playing a set of Corsa, wasn't enjoying the menu. I was like, I can design that better. Designed it in Photoshop, had some looks, but then I turned it into a working menu in UMG with full animation, sound, clicks, like shortcuts, mouse overs, like all that stuff. Learned the tool, messed around with blueprints, like all that. So that's something that's been helpful. Do like, create your own prompts. I'm going to redesign this section of a game, or I'm going to redo these menus or whatever. So anyways, that's kind of like a short history. I got hired in March of 2022. I've been doing it for 8 months now, loving it, and I'll get more into it. But like really, all in all, I just want to say like it's possible. Like you can transition from another industry, or even if you're a student, you're just starting out, like you can do it. You can get there. It's going to take work. It's going to take time. It's going to take timing, but it's all possible. And I really want to encourage you to press hard, do something every day, and you don't have to kill yourself to get there, but you do have to put in work. So looking forward to talking more. I'm going to have a resource list that I'm getting out, things you can check out, podcast, all that, and I'll go over all this stuff in other episodes, and we will keep talking about it. Have an awesome day and get to work.